everyone. Welcome to Doing Everything to Avoid the Hereafter. We got a very special guest today. Sarah is a landscape designer with over 20 years of experience in landscape architectural work. Her projects span genres from single-family to multifamily residential design, educational campuses to resorts, commercial buildings to hospital gardens, temporary housing communities to green cemeteries. She believes that each project has its own needs, capacity, and life cycle, which is mirrored by the site and in turn mirrored by the owner. These cycles are often mirrored by the environment at large, with reflections of the local culture. It is in essence one big life cycle with many parts in the flow to consider. This is especially true in memorial design. Sarah has worked with 2 private cemeteries as well with 2 individuals to achieve their visions of memorial. She found that she naturally related to others and the concept of death. She was able to do so in an open and warm-hearted way that comforted others and opened not just their vision and creativity in the realm of legacy, but also their hearts to share thoughts, fears, memories, and other end-of-life issues. As more people came to seek her advice on death, she decided to train as an end-of-life doula. She is trained and is listed with International End-of-Life Doula Association as a doula, and she has completed a mentorship under Lauren Richwine, a death doula and green burial advocate in northeastern Indiana. Sarah aims to bring the topic of death from taboo into the natural flow of life, where it belongs. Yes, Sarah currently lives in northeastern Indiana with her 3 children, her dog, 3 cats, and many fish and plants. She still works as a landscape designer, as well as a disability legal assistant, end-of-life doula, and death advocate. Please help me welcome to the stage, Sarah Trzynka! Woo! Hi, buddy! Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Sarah and I go way back. We met in college back in Kentucky and then have just stayed in touch ever since. Our lives have kind of interweaving, in and out, and we've come back full circle to really embrace the topic of death. I think you and I have a lot to talk about here, so let's just dive in. You ready?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. All right, so when was your first experience with death?
I think so. My first experience with death, it goes way back. So I have a weirdly good memory, and one of my earliest memories was when I was 3 years old, and I contracted scarlet fever. And I know, like the stuff that made Mary Ingalls blind. Yeah, I got that. And my parents didn't know that at the time. It was sometime in the winter, and I woke up for me, it felt really late. And I had one of those, the strawberry shortcake nightgowns, the scratchy
Yes.
ones. Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah.
Child of the 80s, I just dated myself. And I had sweated through it in a really short period of time. And I went out, and my mom, she was a registered nurse, a pediatric nurse. And she said, "Oh, yeah, you definitely have a fever." And she put she gave me some Tylenol and put like a wet rag on my head. And she said, "We'll take you to the doctor tomorrow." And she laid me back down. I woke up, I don't know how much later it was, a little while later. And I went back out to my parents, and they were still sitting out there watching TV. It was definitely still night. And I said, "Is it morning yet? Because I really want to go to the doctor." And my mom was like, "Well, that's weird." And I had completely sweated through the nightgown. And my bed was covered in sweat. It was like I had peed the bed. It was so wet. And she took my temperature, and it was really high. It was like over 104 degrees. And they took me into the ER. And my dad worked at the hospital. My mom did too. And I remember him carrying me into the hospital and seeing the stars and just feeling, I was so grateful for how cold it was because I was burning up.
Sure.
And seeing the night sky and seeing the stars. And I don't remember anything. For I don't know how many days I was in there. I woke up and I was in an isolation room, and it was one of those hideous yellow colors of the early 80s, like late 70s, early 80s. Looked like bile. I was like, ugh. I remember waking up and people came in like full masks and isolation gear. And I wasn't really allowed to see a lot of people. And I got a lot of Jell-O, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And the reason I know it was winter was because I got to see, not only was it cold out, but I got to see the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special on, which I never got to watch before because somebody would turn it off. So, and I remember really wrestling with that remote. The hospital remotes were really weird back then. I
Yeah.
couldn't figure it out. I needed help, and they came in their suits, and they couldn't really get it because they had like special gloves and like masks and everything on.
And
So
you were
yeah,
3.
yeah.
And so, did you actually have this experience where you felt like you were not in your body?
I mean, when my dad was carrying me in to the hospital, was I there? Yes, but it was also kind of an out of body experience too, And even as a child, the whole thing really stuck out to me, obviously, because I remember something from when I was 3 years old.
It's impressive. Yeah.
But I think what that really did, it made me hyper aware of death at an early age.
Okay. Yeah.
Because when you have a near death experience as a child, like, some people have them when they're older, when they're teenagers or young adults or whatever, and they're like, yeah, that really made me aware that, like it changed my life around, or I was able to change the trajectory of how I felt about things or whatever. But when you
Hmm.
have that at an early age, you are aware that death can come for you at any time.
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
can come for you, it can come for anybody at any time. And you're not
Yeah.
safe. And
Yeah.
I don't mean you're not safe in a threatening way. I mean, I guess some
Hmm.
people could take it as a threatening way, but I never did. It never bothered
Yeah.
me. So, yeah.
So that's wild because you have 104 fever, your dad's carrying you in, you have sweat through your strawberry shortcake pajamas, you're just a mess. And then you see the night sky and you feel like a
Floaty.
welcome from the floaty, from
Yeah.
the coolness, and you feel floaty and you're just kind of in and out of your body. And then you realize, oh my gosh, like, and you're 3. That's what's so wild is that your memory of this is so vivid,
Yeah.
and the fact that you understood at this very young age, hey, I could like not be here at any time. And so having that experience so young, how do you think that kind of shaped you moving forward?
Well, it definitely had an effect. I don't think I really understood that effect until I was older because
Okay.
I didn't view death the way that everyone else did. And I didn't even understand that until I became an adult.
Hmm.
Because I would go to funerals and everyone else would, they'd be sad and crying and
Sure.
whatever. And I'd be sitting there kicking my feet while I'm sitting on the pew, like, wee, there's
Yeah.
carpet and looking around at the sunbeams. And I didn't miss people. I didn't feel sorry for
Hmm.
them when,
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad for the people sitting for those who lost their loved ones,
Sure.
or for those who died in tragic circumstances. I felt sad for them.
Hmm.
But for those who had actually gone, I didn't feel bad for them
Yeah.
because their struggles were over,
Yeah.
They've been released onward. And I think those of us who are living, we have such a fear of the moment of death. And it's because of that passing into the unknown, um, what is it going to be like? Is it going to hurt? Is the
Yeah.
process going to hurt? We're afraid of the process of dying.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of us are afraid of the afterlife too, because we don't know what's there.
Hmm.
So, and I think those two things combined make people very afraid of death. But
Yeah.
but when it happens to you when you're young, you're just like, okay, because there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. It's inevitable, right? Like we'll all get there eventually. And so it's figuring out ways of coming to this understanding that, like you had when you were at funerals, or you have when you're at funerals, you're like, this person's no longer suffering. They've traveled onward. And, it's more of like a celebration, it sounds like, from your
Hmm.
standpoint, as opposed
Yeah.
to, I mean, you can feel sadness and you can mourn the person and also celebrate that they're no longer in the pain or in the suffering that they could have been enduring in the body. So my next question is, what do you think is onward? What do you think's after all of this once we leave this earth suit?
Okay, so honestly, I do not know. I think
Yeah.
okay, so my personal opinion is I think it depends on your faith.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
your faith dictates what happens to you. Okay.
Hmm.
Because realistically, for our bodies, I think it's a dirt nap, to be blunt.
Yeah.
And so when I think about dying, I'm like, man, I could use a really long nap. That sounds great. I'm tired. But
Yeah,
I do have things I want to accomplish before I die, so maybe not yet.
totally. Yeah.
But as far as our minds and our spirit, that's energy.
Hmm?
The actual thoughts, have been mapped and, sort of that's electricity, right? It's energy. And I think
Yeah.
that is released back into the universe somehow,
Hmm.
in some way, shape, or form. And it is transmuted into something else somehow. Whether that is, there's the actual physical aspect of it where our body breaks down into something else. And then guess what? That's made into a soil and a
Hmm.
plant sucks it up. And then an animal
Right.
eats the plant. And then we
Yeah.
eat the animal if we eat animals, or maybe we eat the plant. And
Right.
then that becomes part of us and or another person. And then that person also passes on and then they break down. And then,
Yep.
that is one big life cycle. But also that energy that I don't want to call it psychic energy, but that mental energy that is
Hmm.
us is also released somewhere. And I think that does
Yeah.
go somewhere. Where? I
Yeah.
don't
I think I think of it as like consciousness, like our
know.
consciousness, the energy, the energetic consciousness definitely is separated from the body, the energy that you're speaking of. And that, yeah, I love what you're saying, about how it all comes kind of full circle with, the body breaks down if you get buried and then it goes into the soil and then the soil, grows the plants and then the plants are eaten by the animals and then we either eat the animals or the plants. And so it's just this whole cycle. And what a cool thing that that really helps me understand more of the oneness or the allness concept that people will talk about, which is the connectivity, that we are all energetically connected. And when you think about it in that way and you break it down in that way, that makes so much sense.
It
So,
does.
and then with the kind of into the unknown or the next realm or that kind of thing, how have you experienced your loved ones in spirit? Have you received any signs or gotten any kind of like winks from people?
Yeah, definitely, but just in different ways.
Mhm.
So I currently live in my grandmother's house.
That's right. Yeah.
And my grandmother passed away 2 years ago. And I definitely feel my grandma and grandpa were married for I don't know how many years, a long time. Grandpa
Hmm.
also passed away in this house.
Oh,
Grandpa
wow.
passed away in this house. My grandma did
Okay.
not pass away in this house. The intention was to bring her home and to have hospice set her up here. They didn't get her here in time.
Okay.
But I very much feel their energy here. And I kept the house the way that they had it.
Mhm.
And I have these little mementos set up. She had 9 kids. She
Oh,
had 20 some great grandchildren,
my
just
God.
a huge family,
Yeah.
huge extended family. And, now both her and grandpa have passed. There have been some of the children and in-laws that have passed, some of the grandchildren, and also people on my mom's side of the family as well. My mom passed the same summer as my grandma, so
Yeah.
lots of
Gosh.
death. But at the same time, I have set up these spaces and have these little mementos here where I connect with these same people, the people I've lost. And it's like I haven't even lost them. They're still here with me. So,
I I love being able to think about it in that way that, even though their physical body is no longer in this realm, they're still with us.
it's a home again. It's a family home
Hmm.
again. That's what it always has been. This has always been the family home, and it still is. And that
Yeah.
was my grandma's intention, was to make it the family home. Even
Hmm.
after her death, she still wants it to be that. And so I'm sort of the keeper of the legacy.
Yeah.
That's been a way for me to work through my grief as well.
Mhm.
So
What you're doing though is helping bring this healing and this light and love to help people understand or maybe help maybe soften the process of death with that because you're like, this is what grandma wanted, and I'm just able to help live this legacy, like to help keep her alive. And I think that our spirit and loved ones, because when I do mediumship, they love when we talk about them. They love when we acknowledge the signs. They
yes.
love when we're like, yes. thanks grandma, or thanks Amy, or thanks whoever, your mom, whoever it is that's giving you the message. It's just, I think that just re-energizes their batteries in their
Hmm.
energy form. I always think of Amy like driving around in a little orb is what she's doing. Like an orb's a ball of energy. And so I just think of her, just kind of navigating that way, and have caught some stuff on video too. Have you caught anything on video or had any experiences where you've done anything in the house like that?
I haven't caught anything on video,
Okay.
but I also haven't tried. Here.
Do you get anything with the electricity? I get some flickering lights at times. Uh,
Occasionally, I get more stuff like outside, you know. They were
okay.
avid gardeners.
Oh,
So
yeah.
my grandpa was a mechanic, a retired mechanic. He was a airplane mechanic in World War II.
Oh,
And then
cool.
he owned a mechanic shop in town
Mm-hmm.
and retired from there. And
Wow.
so he's got all his tools and stuff still out in the garage. But it's very peaceful though. Though not like the last house I lived in, which was definitely haunted, like in a bad
Oh,
way.
really? Oh,
So,
no. Well, I'm glad you're out of there. I'm
yes,
glad you're in your grandma's house.
this one is peacefully resided in.
Yeah, good. You mentioned earlier too, there are some things that you still want to do, some things on your bucket list you're not quite ready to go yet. What are some of those things that you're still like wanting to do while you're still in your Earth suit?
Well, I mean, travel the world.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go.
Definitely. I want to, gosh, I am so interested to see how my kids turn out.
Hmm.
Will my
Yes.
daughter become an evil genius? Who knows?
Right?
What's my older son gonna turn out to be like? What's my youngest gonna turn out to be like? They're all so different, you know? I had a dream once that I would retire in Europe. I want to see if that
Cool.
comes out to be true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to. I'm working on starting my own. So as you know, I'm a landscape architectural consultant, and right now all
Mm-hmm.
my work is done pretty much in Hawaii, but I'm going to start a branch here locally.
Awesome.
And part of the reason that I'm doing that is because I was trained as a death doula the summer that my mom and grandma died. And I want to
Yes.
integrate memorial garden design into that
Yeah.
because um, I don't really see the purpose of, I mean, I see the purpose, I understand the purpose of, um, cemeteries, and there's a whole historical bent on how cemeteries became the way that they were and why they were designed the way that they were.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest gifts at funerals are things like garden gifts. They give you tons of stuff for a garden, and people
Yeah.
don't really know what to do with it. They just end up putting it in their flower beds, and then it gets overgrown.
Mm-hmm.
And I would very much like to work with families and also clients while they're still alive to
Yeah.
work on the design themselves.
Ooh. So
To
they can
say,
have it before they
exactly,
pass.
exactly.
Nice.
To say, what would you want? For example, my mom loved flowers. She loved
Yeah.
specific types of flowers. What would
Mm-hmm.
my mom have wanted? Would she
Uh,
have wanted a bench? Because somebody gave her a bench. So they gave my dad a bench, that says something
yeah.
like, "We never forget the people that leave us," or some platitude like that. That's a really common gift, but it's weirdly sitting on their front porch. They got a gazing ball.
Yeah.
But these are common things that wind chimes, all really
Oh,
common
yeah.
gifts. We got 6 sets of wind chimes, I think.
Wow.
Fountains, all really common. But
Yeah.
when you have the knowledge of what people commonly give, these are things also that people will put out at grave sites in cemeteries, and they're commonly stolen.
Oh,
So
shit.
theft
Okay.
is really high in cemeteries. So they usually will lock the gates at night, but during the day, anybody can go out because they assume you're going to go out and visit, and theft is really high.
I
So,
didn't know that.
yeah, so people
Wow.
don't want to put stuff out there. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but when you think about it, most people beyond a certain point don't go out frequently to go visit their loved ones because that's not where the spirit of their loved ones, that's not where it resides. The
Yeah.
spirits of their loved ones resides there with
Mm-hmm.
them. In the same way that the spirits of my loved ones are all around me, here.
Yes.
That's what a lot of people want, but they don't really understand that that's what they want. They think they need what tradition dictates.
Yeah.
And I want to offer them an alternative. And if their loved one can give their input while they're still alive, how precious is that?
I love that.
That, that their loved one could have said, I want daisies and I want hostas and I want a dogwood tree or whatever it is that they want. Maybe they want a concrete patio. I don't know.
Right? Get them a concrete patio.
Yeah.
No, the cool thing about that is, Sarah, though, is that you can honor their wishes while they're still here. They can
Yes.
know, okay, this is how I'm going to be remembered. I'm going to have this memorial garden or however, you ended up doing it. And I love it. You're taking your expertise of being a landscape architect and being able to do this for people in real time while they're still alive. The conversations I think are so important to have while you're still alive because Amy, I would not have known that my late wife, who passed, it'll be almost 8 years in April, that she wanted a burial at sea. I would have never known that had my niece not died 4 months earlier. And we were just talking about it one day. Like, what do you want to happen with your body when you die? And I think the more we can normalize these conversations with people and get people to understand, well, I have voice and choice in this. I
Yeah.
don't have to leave this for other people to decide. I can actually do this now. I love that you're doing that.
Well, and so that's kind of the role of the death doula or an end of life doula is to
Yeah.
step in and, I think a lot of people mistake the role of the death doula is to serve as like a grief coach for the family. That is
Okay.
not the point. The point is to
Yeah.
serve as an advocate for the person who is dying. Now,
Yes.
definitely there comes a point where when the person, there is a stage there where you get to kind of like a comatose stage at the
Hmm.
very final stage of death, where you're kind of like a liaison, you're a bridge between the two, you know,
Okay.
and you might work with the family more, or after death, you may work with the family more, but
Yeah.
you're not a grief coach. You can certainly go and you can get classes in grief coaching and become a grief coach, but that's not the point. The point is to serve as an advocate for
Yeah.
the dying and to make their wishes come true, to kind of help say, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want to die? Do you
Mhm.
have like end of life directives in place? Do you have an estate plan in place? What do you want done? How do you want your family notified? What do you want your funeral to look like? What do you want?
Yeah.
How do you want to be remembered? What do you want? Do you want to like a legacy project?
Mhm.
What do you want? Because a lot of people die or they leave without that in place, or they leave it up to their family to remember. And I would not want my family choosing for me. I want a luau. Thank you very
Yeah, you
much.
do? Okay,
Yeah, I
cool.
do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, nobody would throw a luau for me. They'd make it sound like somber, sad crap. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I want a luau.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're gonna roast a pig and we're gonna have fun.
Yeah. I love it.
Open bar.
Open bar. Perfect. Lots of Shirley Temples for me. No, I think that it's so important to be able to give that autonomy to people. Yes, because you said if I didn't say this is what I wanted, my family wouldn't give me a luau. They wouldn't do that without me saying this is exactly how I want it. And so I mean, do you already have everything in place? Did you have like a will and did you do all that stuff already?
I did. I definitely
Yeah.
need to revise it.
Okay.
So, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. You kind of got to update that stuff because we change as humans. So
Yes, it
our
does.
situations change. So, you need to go through and update that stuff every couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's the one constant in life is change. We can guarantee that's going to happen.
I
And
know.
so thank you for that reminder that like even if you do have a will, you have all the things, the wishes that you want in place, you can change your mind. Those things
Yes.
can change. So know that they can be updated too. I don't know if people realize that too sometimes. I think we think, oh gosh, I already did it this way. It's going to have to just stay that way. No, it can change. You can change it however you need be. So you became a death doula. You said after your mom and your grandma passed, which I'm so sorry. That was such a hard year for you. I remember it was just like boom, boom. And you decided I want to become a death doula. Like, what's that journey been like for you?
So I will say I have not sat at a lot of patients' bedsides at this point in time. It's been really stop and start. I wanted to make sure that I completed a mentorship first because I live in Indiana and we have some of the most restrictive funerary laws in the country.
Really?
The woman that I did a death doula mentorship with, Lauren Richwine, she got national attention because she was sued by the Indiana
Okay.
Funeral Directors Association. She was sued for educating clients about a green funeral or
What?
green burial practices. Yes, because they were interested in green burial practices. They were asking questions. She answered and she was sued. So
Oh
that's
my
just the short
gosh.
version. Obviously, it's longer, and I probably did a crappy job of summarizing it, but that's kind of the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
And she has taken um she has taken them back to court and won her case.
Oh, good.
But yeah, they're very restrictive about what you can and
Hmm.
can't say. So I wanted to make sure I got extra training. And I
Okay.
just completed that in November.
Nice.
During that training, I also discovered that I have a very odd way of approaching things. So I don't know that I would be everybody's cup of tea as a bedside death doula, which is okay. Um,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of people, several of the people that I trained with are people, well, actually, a lot of them in my first training too, are people who are leaving the hospice industry and they are going to join the death doula movement instead because they would rather provide more emotional support as opposed to medical support.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's less of a shortage of people who are willing to sit by bedsides.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of turning my focus at this point in time towards more death positive talk and thinking and preparation. Kind of like what actually you were just talking about, how do we prepare ourselves for, even just bringing up these conversations of what do you want to happen to you when you die? Why is that taboo to talk
Yeah.
about? Why is it
Yeah.
taboo to talk about, talk to your kids about death?
Yeah.
Or going, I mean, it's not technically, but when I tell my kids or when I tell people that I have told my kids about what I would want to happen to me after I die, or green burial practices, or that we're going to a funeral, that we talk about whether we think heaven or hell even exists, they look at me and they go, ugh.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to sugarcoat death for kids.
Hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
We didn't used to do that.
Hmm. So you have these open, candid conversations with your kiddos. Yeah. This is what
Yeah.
mom wants. This is how she wants to be left and remembered. And you're doing a green burial, you said? Like, is it?
I don't know if I will do a green burial or not because it'll depend on what state I live in. But
Okay.
there are some green burial options that are super cool that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
Water cremation is really
Oh, yeah.
awesome. So
Mm-hmm.
much better for the environment than traditional cremation. I mean, I guess if I have to get traditionally cremated, I would, but put it
Right.
into an urn with some trees or something like that.
Yeah.
Do like the bio
Yeah.
urn thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And the water cremation, that is that pretty new? Or is that something that's been around for a bit?
It's been around for a little while.
Okay.
And the nearest state to me that does water cremation, I think, is in Michigan or Illinois.
Okay. Wow.
But that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then human composting has been approved in a couple states now. Unfortunately, no states near me, but that's
We're-
that's actually a pretty cool one too.
Okay. Yeah. Human composting. That sounds
Yep.
very, very interesting.
Yeah. Right now, I think probably the most accessible one in most states is green burial practices. And that's just, for those who don't know, that's where you would go, and you don't normally in a burial process, when they embalm you, they use preservatives like formaldehyde and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in a green burial practice, they don't do that. You are
Oh.
baried within a shorter amount of time, and you're buried in a biodegradable, like a shroud or a wicker casket or a bamboo casket.
Ooh.
And you are buried, instead of being buried in a concrete vault underground, you are
Mm-hmm.
buried like a certain amount of feet underground. And I say it that
Okay.
specifically because that depends on the biome you live in, the type of soil you have, the type of predators that you might have in the area,
Wow.
insects, worms, things that might break you down. Because
Mm,
what you actually want to do is you want to bury depth because you want to
yeah.
discourage predators, but it has to be at that right depth to encourage the creatures that break things down, and
Hmm.
fungus, mycelium, things like that. You want to encourage them to do that too. You want to encourage them to do their job. Mycelium caskets, I saw that recently too. That was so cool.
Yeah.
It was like
Okay.
a mushroom casket. That's so cool.
I'm gonna be a mushroom.
I
Yeah,
know,
that's
right?
the fun. I'm gonna be a fun guy on my way out. Bye.
There's some fungus among us. Ah, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day. I would love to know. I know you said you're doing the death doula now and you're taking clients. And so how would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to have you as an advocate?
Right now, the easiest way to contact me would probably be via email. I was
Okay.
listed on Inelda's website, but I think something happened to that because I looked this morning. I was like, hey, I don't see my name. So
Like, where'd I go?
I know, right?
Yeah.
I disappeared. Magic. So it's Peely Lonnie Garden Design at
Okay.
gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would be more than happy to talk to people about, whatever it is that they want to know. And as always, I'm one of those people that's like, oh, if I can't answer your questions, I am more than happy to point you to someone who can or give you
Yeah.
resources or whatever.
Love that. And we'll put in the comments too with this episode of how to people can get a hold of you,
Okay.
um, so that so that it's clear. Anything else that we didn't talk about that you want to put out there before we wrap up?
You know, was one of the questions that you had put on the question list, but you had asked about thoughts on your own death and how you want to be
Oh
remembered.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a really good one. Thinking about my own death after seeing other people go through their death. So I sat vigil with my mom for 2.5 weeks. And maybe it wasn't, I guess, she was in hospice for 2.5 weeks. But the actual vigil part, like when they said, okay, she's actively dying, and hospice came in and said, because, there's different stages of the final stages of death, of active
Hmm.
dying. And they came in and they said, okay, she is actively dying. She had been so healthy up till when she got cancer and then her cancer progressed so quickly and was so aggressive that the health prior to the cancer, like they didn't quite match up.
Yeah.
So her stage of active dying, for most people, it's 3 days or less. And for her, it was over 7 days. And my dad and I sat vigil with her for over 7 days. And I mean, we're talking like 24-hour around the clock care. And when you do that, it does make you think a lot about your own death and how you want to be remembered. And it's funny because my thought about it was that I don't want to be remembered.
Hmm.
I hope that I'm not. I hope that if all I can do is just raise decent kids and they're happy people, happy, healthy people that contribute, to the health and wealth of the people around them. And by wealth, I
Hmm.
mean well-being.
Yeah.
Then I don't need any more legacy than that. That's it.
Hmm.
I don't want to be remembered beyond that,
Yeah.
you
You're
know?
like, I'm out. I'm out, and I have some happy, healthy kids who are just, good people
Exactly.
contributing to the wellness of other people.
Exactly. And just be like, peace
Yeah.
out, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm done. Until the next one. Or do you think that you're gonna have another life after this? You think you keep doing life after life?
Oh, that's a good question. Kind of like in that video that I shared with you, where we're dust and then we become, and that has to do with that transfer of energy too.
Yes.
Like, do we go up to the sky? Do we retain our memories? I don't know if that kind of gets into reincarnation or, does our energy get transferred to something else? Oh, well, I would say our energy does get transferred to something else. What is it? Do we remember those things? I don't think we remember them, but could it be possible to gain those memories? I don't know. Maybe.
So you think maybe you transfer into like you could be like a cat and then you're like you have amnesia and you're like, I don't remember being a human before, but now I'm a cat. Kind
Yeah,
of like
why
that.
not?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's that whole electrical energy after you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
That spark of life that goes
Yeah.
somewhere and then it
Yeah.
comes back down. That spark of life goes into something else.
Mm.
It could be a cat, could be a dog,
I
it could be a mushroom, it could
could
be
be.
a rock.
Yeah.
I bet I was a great rock.
You were the best rock.
I was an amazing rock.
You were my rock in college for sure. So I always appreciated that. I appreciate you so much. I hope if I do come back, I come back as a cat that is taken care of in a good way, happy, healthy home. That'd be great.
Palm tree would
Thank
be
you.
awesome.
Palm tree would be cool. Yeah. I got to actually put Amy in a palm tree in France. I stuck
Uh-huh.
her in my pants. I said, we're going for one more journey. Took her ashes, put her in there. I had a medium confirm that. She's like, I see myself. I'm surrounded by frond. I'm like, oh, yeah. We put her in a palm tree. So that was pretty cool. And
Nice.
yeah, so thank you so much for coming on the show. We will leave your information, your contact information if people want to get a hold of you or, have questions about being a doula, if you can maybe do that for them. I think I would definitely want you to be my doula for sure if I go before you.
You'll get a lot of jokes.
Yeah, for sure. And you'd be a very fun guy to have at last my last breath. So, buddy, thank you though. This has been really fun. I really appreciate you, and I love you lots. And talk to you soon.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I love you too. And thanks for allowing me to be your guest and sharing your time with me.
You bet, buddy. Golden time.